Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we have a huge day of racing tomorrow. We've got some really good races at Newmarket, Thirsk, Punchestown, Goodwood. There's even a race at Hexham that I think I found a horse that I like. Obviously the feature race of the day is the 2000 Guineas. We do have a selection in that. We will come on to that in due course. I wanted to start off though talking about just very briefly about the moving of horses from Dr. Johnny De La Haye. He's moved them to Dan Skelton, Jamie Snowden and Chris Gordon, I think, from Paul Nicholls. Paul Nicholls' last few runners with Johnny De La Haye have been really disappointing. 3 pulled up, 1 tailed off third. I think in 5 runners, I think one of the others in that race had fallen. Clearly not getting the best out of his horses anymore. And I think it's a good move from the owner. And I'm not surprised people have jumped on and criticised the move. But where's your competitiveness and will to win and want to win? So often in racing, it's all patting each other on the back. Whoever wins, it's a great result for them. Blah blah blah. There's no real competitive spirit and competitive edge in so many trainers and jockeys and owners apart from the Skeltons, and that's why they've gone and broken that 5 million prize barrier, because they go and try and do everything they possibly can to win. They use as much information as they can, they use as much data as they can, they will use as much pushing of the rules as they can. Even we know that they get horses well handicapped. We know that their horses, Dan's come out and freely admitted he will run horses that other trainers won't. What does he mean by that? He runs horses when they're not fit. They're not unfit that they're going to damage themselves and get hurt and injured, but they're unfit that they're not going to be able to give them their full running. And because of that, the handicapper then reacts and drops them a few pounds for a disappointing run. That's part and parcel of the game. You're going to have to be better. Other trainers are going to have to be better than Dan Skelton at doing that, and they're clearly not. They're all happy to go around patting each other on the back and going, well done, you beat me in this race, I beat you in that race, great result. Dan Skelton's going, well, I'm getting this horse ready for Cheltenham, this one for Aintree, this one for Punchestown, this one for Uttoxeter, this one for Warwick, and I will go and win any race I possibly can and get them plotted perfectly. And that's why Johnny De La Haye has moved his horses, and a majority of his horses, to Dan Skelton. He wants winners. You look at those last few from the Paul Nicholls stable that ran for him. Is it Walk the Talk? Disappointed, pulled up. Matterhorn, pulled up. There's a couple of others. Obviously, Pick Dory was very disappointing last time out. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a great decision from the owner to move his horses to Dan Skelton. And Dan might be getting a whole load of horses, but he's not then just running them here, there and everywhere and doesn't really care about them. He's looking at which horses he can get handicapped for every single possible race that he's on the horizon. Whether it's for, if there's 18, 19, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand up for grabs, he will try and target a horse for that race. And I think it's a great thing. I think his competitiveness is what's bringing new owners to his yard and bringing those away from the likes of Paul Nicholls and Nicky Henderson, etc. Anyway, enough talk about that. Let's have a look at my selections for tomorrow. So we're starting off in the 220 at Newmarket, and we are going to go with a horse called Botanical. Now, Botanical was last seen finishing 4th in the Lincoln. To be honest, probably went a bit fast at the front. He was actually clear at the front, and then that lead got reduced and he got caught by a few that were nicely handicapped, stayed on well. I think the jockey's going to do it not different. Clifford's going to give him a very similar ride this time, but maybe not quite be as far clear, so that he does have a little bit of extra fight at the end of the race. That run he should step forward from that. It was a good race anyway. He finished 1 3/4 lengths 4th. He's a very smart horse. He is potentially nicely handicapped in that he's dropped from his high of a mark of 110 down to this mark of 104. There's plenty to like about this, to be honest. I think he kind of proved that the mile isn't an issue either as well when running at Doncaster. He's going to go forward and he's going to try and hang on. And if the jockey gets the timings a little bit better than Sam James did last time, I think he's going to take, he's going to run a really big race here. What price is he currently? Let's have a look. He is currently available at 7 to 1. There's a couple of 7s. Obviously, we ignore Bet365. You'll often find that certain tipsters will go and put up those types of horses. They'll see a price like this one here, Ancient Rome. Let's tip him up at 25s. He's not available at 25s. First of all, that's a delayed price. You can see all the others are shortening, and they'll tip that up, and then tomorrow when he's 16s, they'll go, look, we've got the value. Irrelevant. You can't get these prices at Bet365, so we don't talk about those prices. But you can get 7s at Ladbrokes and at Coral. And I think Botanical is going to run a nice race here. I think he's going to get that, get to the front again under Clifford Lee, but doesn't go quite as hard. And if he doesn't, I think he might have that finishing stamina in the bag this time. So that's Botanical in the 220 at Newmarket. We then go off to jump racing. Off to Uttoxeter for the 235. There was 2 that I was interested in here. One of them I actually told you to put in your Nagami last time out because it didn't run. That was Calamistic. Very lightly raced, very smart, improving horse. This is a step up in class from what he's been running in though. His win at Sandown off 122. It was it probably in against lesser opposition than what he's got to face here. The highest rated horse in that race that day was the 12-year-old, Certainly Red off 137. Now, this is a much better race. Those horses that are higher rated are not 12. There's a 10-year-old in the race, but everything else is kind of still what they are. They're 8 and 9 and they're still in their prime. So I think it's going to be a tough task for Calamistic to overcome to win that. The horse we like is Joya Machin. Now, we've been on Joya Machin a few times this season. He did eventually get a win for us last time out at Bangor. Went off 7 to 2 that day in a much easier race than this, granted. It was a much, much easier race. But at least he's got his node back in front. He's got a bit of confidence. Handicapper did put him up £5 for that. But Harry Skelton jumps back on board now. And I think that's what I was looking for, wasn't it? After he had a couple of runs under Harry Atkins, I was kind of waiting for Harry Skelton to jump back on board. Harry Atkins ended up winning on him and winning comfortably. But they've come here for an 18 grand pot for the Skeltons, and Harry's jumped back on. I thought he was unlucky last year at Uttoxeter in the handicap hurdle over 3 miles when they were second off 135. We liked him that day. Would we have liked that horse off 137? Absolutely. So for me, there's no difference. He's coming here with a similar chance. And yeah, I hope he runs a really big race here for the Skeltons, and that they can keep, or they can start their quest for more prize money again tomorrow here. 18 grand. I'd probably argue that they'll be disappointed with Joya Machin's campaign and season so far, or campaign from last season, and they will be suggesting that we want to kick on again. Then, as we've now got him back into form, let's go and win another race with him. He does seem to run in snatches like that in terms of when he gets his act together, he goes and puts in a few good runs together, and then he loses his way, and then he comes back again. And hopefully this is that second run in that sequence of being in form. I think he's going to run a really nice race. Now, he went off favourite last year for that 3-mile handicap hurdle. He went off 3 to 1 for it. There are no current prices about this race, but I'm hoping the inclusion of Calamistic, the inclusion of Party Vibes, both last time out winners, and maybe even King's Threshold might mean that we get a decent price about Joya Machin. I don't think he's going to be favourite. I think Calamistic will be favourite. I'm hoping we can get 3s, 4s about Joya Machin. Anything bigger than that and I'll be really happy. I think he's got a great chance in that race. But yeah, I'm hoping that some of the others kind of make the market for us and those at the head of the market, and Joya Machin isn't quite at the head of the market. We then move on to the 240 at Thirsk, which is the Thirsk Hunt Cup. And the horse I like here is Flight Plan, who ran in this race last year, and he won. He won this race off a mark of 102, beating High Royal, the very smart High Royal, by half a length, and was always winning, to be fair, from the front. He went off 8-1 that day. So he went off 8-1 off a mark of 102. Tomorrow, he's running off a mark of 94. And he's currently available at, bearing in mind he went off 8 last year, he's currently available at 13-2. I think that's a good price about him. I think he's going to get that easy lead at the front again. And I think he's going to take all of the beating off this low mark. After winning, he went up in the handicap. Found things a bit tougher at Epsom. Possibly didn't travel as well at Epsom. Then went to York, but then tried running in group races and listed races. Had a campaign or a season over in Meydan in January. 3 runs there. Didn't really get close to winning any of those races. And then came back for a middle distance trial on the all-weather. And that for me was, they were looking to see whether he was, the right horse for the middle distance all-weather races. He finished 4th. I think they went, yeah, he's not. Then they dropped him back to a mile. Now, I think that was a key run, that dropping him back to a mile. They weren't dropping him back to see if they had a mile all-weather horse. They dropped him back to get him back over the right trip and to get him beat, and dropped in the handicap. So when he was running in Meydan, he was rated 100. He's now back to the UK, rated 94. Last year, for example, at Epsom, for a handicap at Epsom, he went off 7-1 off a mark of 105. He's £11 lower now, and you're still getting about the same price. He's a course and distance winner, as we know, after winning this race. He's had that fitness run at Newcastle earlier on this month. This month, it's actually the 1st of May now, isn't it? He's had that fitness run at Newcastle last time out. He did that the year before at Thirsk. I think he comes here with a great chance. That is Flight Plan under Sam James for Carl Burke, who I think has got a couple there that have had their opening runs for the season in Flight Plan and Botanical, and can now go and win the races that probably might have been the long-term plans of both of them. We then move on to the 255 at Newmarket, which is the Group 3. Now, I am a massive fan of Asfoora. I think she is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But surely she's going to need the run here, isn't she? She's going to improve for that run, and I think she's going to get beat here and then go and win the Group 1 races. This is only a Group 3. They won't be flat out here. In my opinion, that can't be said for all of the rivals. I think some of these will be trying to win this race, because this is probably their level. They don't have anywhere to go after this. They're probably not good enough for Group 1 races. And one of those horses I like, or the horse that I like with that angle in mind, is Rumstar. Rumstar actually won this race last year and won it quite cosily in the end. Ran on really strongly late on to get the better of She's Quality in Clarendon House, and go and win it quite nicely. Now, the uphill finish really suits Rumstar. I think they'll do exactly the same as they did last year. They'll go to Newmarket, they'll then try and find that Coral Charge again at Sandown. And I think Rumstar goes very close in both of those. That uphill finish just means that if they do get away, Rumstar finishes strongly late on. And yeah, I like this horse for this race. Running this last year, went off 7-1 and won. This year you can currently get $11-2, just about. You can get 11-2. I think she's the one. I think he's going to be the one to beat here. As I said, I think Asfoora. Even the price kind of suggests that they think there's plenty more to, of work to do with Asfoora. If Asfoora was 6-4 here, you might suggest that maybe they are trying. But for a proper Group 1 horse to be 9-2, 4-1, even 6-1. Plenty expect Asfoora to get beat tomorrow, and hopefully that is by Rumstar, who stays on strongly late on to pick those that go forward up late on. as you just had. We then move on to the 305 at Punchestown, and I apologise if you can hear any noise in the background. There are people doing some work on the house. So, we move on to the 305 at Punchestown, the 3 mile 7 race. Now, I'm going to go for a horse that we actually backed last time, and he ran no sort of race in the Irish National. And that's Shambally Kid. Now, Shambally Kid won this race last year. Won this race last year off a mark of 123, when sent off the 15-2 joint favourite, and was a very, very comfortable winner, won by 15 lengths. This isn't like the Irish National. It's not quite as good quality. The extra trip slows the race down. And they're only coming here off a £7 higher mark. If you looked at this race last year after winning and said that this horse would come back off just £7 higher mark, you would go, no way, he's going to come off at least 10, 12, 14. He went up 14 for winning that. And I kind of felt that there had been a few excuses in the build, in the run since then. They were clearly, in my opinion, after it didn't work at Leopardstown, plotting him for a return for the Irish National, running in the Irish National. That didn't work, but they're back here. I think he's got a great chance here, and in a much easier race, a slower pace. Where is it? Punchestown, 305. I think he's going to go well. They've opened him initially at 9s and 10s. I'm hoping we can get a little bit bigger than that, maybe 12 somewhere. If we can get 12 somewhere, I'd be delighted with Shambally Kid. And Danny Mullins, yeah, I don't mind the jockey at all. Lots of people really rate Danny Mullins as well. Yeah, I'd be hopeful for a big run here from Shambally Kid, back over this slower 4 mile course and distance that he has proven that he clearly enjoys. And yeah, I think they plotted him for it last year and won. The Mullins are going to be sending out horses to try and win these races because they're still in a fight with Gordon Elliott for that champion trainer. So yeah, that's Shambally Kid for the 3 mile 7 race at Punchestown. We then go back to Newmarket, back to the flat, and back to the feature race, or now to the feature race of the day, the 2,000 guineas. And for me, I can't get away from Gustad. I know it was... The horse was put back in the race after a mistake by the person doing the entries. I do not believe that there was a complete computer glitch. They clicked the wrong horses, removed the wrong ones, and got it in the wrong order. They're back in the right race. And I think they're the one to beat. I like horses for the guineas as 3-year-olds that have gone 6, 7, up to a mile now. I worry about horses that started out over a mile. If the trainer thought a 2-year-old already needed a mile, like Bo Echo did, he's going to stay further in time, probably needs further, and at this point in their career, I think he needs further than the 3 mile. I think it'd be a mile and 2, mile and 4 maybe, but not a mile, not over the Guineas trip. I like horses that go 6, 7, up to a mile. Gustad has been over a mile when winning at the Breeders' Cup, and was a really comfortable winner that day. I think he's got the best form in the race. I think there's plenty to like about him. I think he's got the beating of the likes of Distant Storm and Oxygon and Alparslan on their running in the Dewhurst, where he ran well for a long way. Well, he ran well for the whole way, didn't he? He was only beaten 3/4 of a length by Givan, who probably got the run of the race that day. I think Gustad will be in the right position under Ryan Moore and will finish strongly, and I think we'll win this race tomorrow for Aidan O'Brien. Let's have a look at the current prices for that race. Gustad is the favourite. It's very unoriginal, but I do think he's the one to beat. 100 to 30 you can get. Yeah, he's the one to beat for me. We then go back over jumps, the 345 at Punchestown for a 3 mile handicap chase, and there's actually 2 in this race that I really like. The first one is Captain Cody. Now we're back to Captain Cody in the National. Sorry, excuse me. and he unseated when I think he was still going plenty well enough. He unseated 4 out, still going well enough. I still think he was going to run a really nice race. His form from that Scottish National has actually been quite nicely franked in a way, with Our Power running a really good race recently at Sandown when finishing a short head second in the Bet365 Gold Cup. He had dropped to a nice handicap mark. When Captain Cody won that Scottish National, he won it really cosily. And again, I thought they had plotted him to come back for the Grand National. And I really do think that. It was only 3 runs ago. He was going off the 7-2 favourite for a handicap. 7-2 favourite for a handicap, such as this one. You know, very, very similar sort of grade and level of opposition. So why this time has he currently been opened at 10s? He went off 7-2 favourite for the race that they were trying in. He fell. Forgive him that. He then went to Fairyhouse for a grade... Was it a grade 2 or a grade 3? I can't remember. The Bobby Joe Chase, grade 3. And got beat there. Now, there was plenty in that race that weren't trying, were they? Captain Cody wasn't trying. Lecky Watson probably wasn't trying. They could afford to win it with Grange Clare West because nothing was going to happen to the handicap mark. So, yeah, I think he was given a... We're just getting him ready for the Grand National. Didn't quite work in the Grand National. They drop him back in trip to a race that they're clearly trying to win. They do want to win it because, as I've mentioned, they're in a battle for the trainers' title with Gordon Elliott. I think he's far too big a price. I think he'll get well supported tomorrow, and if he doesn't go off favourite, he'll go off second favourite. And the other horse that I like in this race that I have to have a bet on is Beckett Rock. Now, we actually tipped up Beckett Rock for the plate at the Cheltenham Festival, where he didn't run. He ended up running in the BetMGM handicap hurdle, the hurdle version over 2 mile 5, and he ran a really good race off a mark of 1:39. Finished 5th, never got close enough, got hampered a bit, ran on strongly, did well in the circumstances is one of the reports for his run. That came off a mark of 1:39. Now, he gets to run here in Ireland over fences of 1:30. I think he's very well handicapped over fences. I think he ran a nice race 2 runs ago, went second, when it didn't quite work. That was a 10 grand race. Did they really want to be winning that when they could be winning something like this? I feel that he's been carefully campaigned. They probably looked at the plate, changed their mind last minute, went back for that BetMGM hurdle where he ran another good race, and now they can go and really focus on trying to win this race over fences. I think he's very, very well handicapped. And overpriced. I was surprised to see that they're looking at 12s and 14s for him. 12s, 14s, 16s, I'd be very happy with that about Beckett Rock. I think he's got a nice chance off a mark that underestimates his ability now that he's going to be trying in a race over fences. We'll then go back to the flat for the 4 o'clock at Goodwood. Now, this is a Class 2 handicap, and it's worth 23,000 to the winner, and that's what puts me on this horse. The horse I like here is Alpha Crucis. Now, Gary and Josh Moore, I think, have got this horse a fitness run, and it was a good fitness run, to be fair, when finishing 5th in the Lincoln. That Lincoln, I argue it's a fitness run. It probably wasn't a fitness run. They were trying there, but he ran well. This is an easier race now at Goodwood. Back to a track that he has won at before. Back to a track he's ran well at before. And I think the £23,000 prize money is definitely tempting them to run here. They've been happy to try and win races for 13 grand before. And he's ran really well. He finished second last time he actually ran at Goodwood. 3 runs ago off a mark of 93. Well, he's running off 92 now. He's actually dropped a pound since that run. He's got some form at Goodwood. He's got a couple of wins, including winning off 89 when beating another Goodwood specialist in Ross Collin. I do think he'll be back in August for the Goodwood Festival. But I think they can win this beforehand. It's 23 grand. The Moors can't really ignore that. and they can't be plotting him to return for the races at Goodwood in August. I think he's going to run a really nice race here, and the prize money will force them to give everything here. Let's have a look to see if we've got any prices. I don't think we have just yet. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near favourite. I think Yaber and Love Beach, Urban Glimpse, they're all going to be short of price. If we can get anything, if we can get 6s, 7s about Alpha Crucis, I'll be quite happy and think that he's going to run a nice race there. 3 to go. Yep, there is loads of racing tomorrow. That is very interesting. I say 3, I've got 4 on my other screen. Let me just have a look. Have indeed got 4. I'm missing a race. I'll load that up in a second. 4:10 Newmarket, the 6 furlong handicap, class 2. I'm going for a horse called Comical Point, who hasn't won since winning on debut. Now, he won a maiden race on debut at Salisbury, and won it quite nicely. He only won by a neck, but was always doing enough to win the race. And then after that, he ran in a Group 2, a Group 2, a Group 2, a listed race, and then has recently come back with a run in a conditions race at Wolverhampton. Now, they clearly felt he was a very good 2-year-old. They kept trying him in the group races, even when he wasn't winning them and actually not really getting close. They never dropped him down to a handicap and went, okay, we'll go and win a handicap with him. They are now. As a 3-year-old, they're coming back and they're going, look, let's win a handicap now before going back to listed and group races. They've been to Wolverhampton recently, 10th of April. Got a fitness run into him. I would totally ignore his finishing position. That's not an issue. He still didn't run bad. He finished 3rd. And he comes here to Newmarket now, where I think he's going to prove and demonstrate that actually he's quite nicely handicapped off 94. And they do have a horse that is a listed company at least, if not Group 3, in Comical Point. The fitness run will stand him in good stead. I think he's going to go really close here. And actually, I was surprised that he was as big as he is. This 7s, 6s, 11 to 2, 6s. Comfortably he could get 6s. He's had the run. So it's not like he's had the run and now they're going for a race, a listed race or a group race, or even coming here on their first run and going, look, let's just get him a fitness run in a handicap. They're coming here on their second run. I think they're going to be trying. They really do. I think they're trying to win this race, get him some confidence by winning a race, and then going on to bigger and better things again. I really like Comical Point here, and I think he's going to run a nice race under Oisin Murphy. 2 more to go, and both of these are actually over jumps. Starting off, no, I said 2 more. There's actually a 3rd one. Let me go back to Newmarket for the 4:45, a 1.5 mile race over in a handicap at Newmarket, class 2. I like Bellum Justum. Bellum Justum has actually been to Newmarket twice, I think, in May 2025 and won a Group 2, and in September 2023 winning a maiden. When Bellum Justum won the maiden, he beat Ortelius, who was in 3rd for the O'Brien team. That horse then went and finished 2nd to the Equator at Leopardstown before going and winning a handicap at Leopardstown, and then not being seen since. I think it's been retired. The runner-up that day behind Bellum Justum was Inisherin. Yes, the very good and now stallion Inisherin, the horse who won a Group 2, won the Commonwealth Cup in at Ascot just a few runs later, a Group 1. Bellum Justum beat Inisherin here at Newmarket. And he also beat Silver Knot at Newmarket. They're both very good horses. They're both Group 1 horses. Now Bellum Justum is dropping into a handicap. First time. Has had a fitness run in the John Porter when finishing 5th of 6. They've now gone, look, we're just struggling to get really involved what sort of race suits us? Why not go for a handicap? I think we might find that the course form is very, very strong, and that Bellum Justum is too good for these. I think we'll see that actually he's Group 2 class at Newmarket. And at 15 to 2, 17 to 2, 7 to 1, 15 to 2 is available. You can actually get a couple of 8s here as well. I think Bellum Justum is the one to be on in the 445. I know there's some progressive horses. Hopewell Rock is actually the one I most fear. How well handicapped is he? But I just think Bellum Justum is going to show that actually he's a group horse and doesn't have to give away a huge amount of weight really to horses that haven't shown anywhere near that level, particularly at Newmarket. That's the key for me here. Now we do go to Punchestown for the 5:30, which is a 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. I'm going to take a bit of a chance on one here. That the horse is going to finally bounce back. Kopek Demi. I think it's really interesting that they are continuing to run this horse over this trip, the 2.5 mile trip. They're not going up to 3 miles just yet. Kopek Demi has arguably had one good run for Willie Mullins. But that was a huge run for Willie Mullins, when finishing second behind Wellington Arch, in front of Favour and Fortune, in front of Impostoir, and in front of Ike Sport, and in front of Wade Out, in front of Helmvine, in front of Be Aware. I mean, that's good form, isn't it? Behind Wellington Arch, who was winning that day off 1-2-3, he's now rated 1-4-2. What's that? £19 higher. The third placed horse, Favour and Fortune, came back to the track off a £4 higher mark. Came back to the track off a £1 higher mark and ran a really good race for third again. The fourth place horse, Impostoir, was rated 145, is now rated 157. The fifth placed horse came out and placed again at Aintree, finishing second off 126. And the sixth placed horse, Wade Out, bounced back from his very disappointing effort at Cheltenham to go and win the 3 mile handicap at Aintree. Probably demonstrating that was actually really good form from Kopek Demi. But that's all he's done. That's the only good performance. He disappointed on his first run for Willie Mullins in the Martin Pipe, but he went a 5-2 favourite at that time. Then went to Navan, disappointed when falling, was already beaten when falling at the last, and then went to Cheltenham recently for the MGM Cup hurdle. Ran okay, looked a bit outpaced, sent off 10 to 1 that day, off a mark of 145. Now, runs off 142 here in Ireland, and Aidan Kelly takes £3 off. Now, if there's a horse that you could kind of suggest this might be very similar to, it's Calix de la Barrière. Calix de la Barrière, sorry about that, went off 100-30 for a handicap at the Rybo Handicap at Fairyhouse in April 2025. Went off 100-30 favourite. Disappointed, finished last. And then went on two poor runs after that, pulling up. Dropped a few pound, came back to Fairyhouse for that Rybo Handicap and won at 22 to 1, and has backed that up again by winning another handicap at Punchestown at 10 to 1. So they were right. That horse was really well handicapped off 125. He's won a handicap of 132. So why? So we think that Kopek Demi was also very well handicapped off 136 when disappointing at Cheltenham. And actually, he's only running tomorrow off 139 because Aidan's taking that £3 off. If we thought he was that well handicapped off 136, and so did many others, being that he went off the 5-2 favourite, I think he can step forward from that and go really close here. That run at Cheltenham might end up being a perfect prep run because his campaign has been a bit mixed up, hasn't it? He went for a beginner's chase, didn't like the fences, disappointed, and then he's had one run since then in that handicap hurdle. He might have needed that run. He might have needed that reconfiguring back over hurdles sort of angle. And now he's got there, and he's had that fitness run. I think he's going to run a really nice race here at a price that is probably too big. Let's have a look. We can see that they're going to price him up at 16s. I think that's too big, and I think it's worth a bet. And finally, the last race that I like and I'm interested in a horse is the 6:15 at Hexham. Didn't think I'd be getting involved in a race like this. Basically hoping that we might get a price about it. Let's have a look. I'm hoping that he's not going to be favourite, because I am a massive fan of Sonagino. I think he was very, very unlucky to get beat at Sandown 3 runs ago. Didn't get the clearance of runs. That came off a mark of 1:32. Didn't get the clearance of runs. If he'd got a clear run, I think he wins. Then went up to 3 mile at Musselburgh. He doesn't stay 3 miles. He wants 2.5. And then went to Fakenham for a novice chase, which he won comfortably. Totally expected. I'm hoping because of that it was totally expected. They might insert Rubber Ball as the favourite here. Rubber Ball is a former winner at Newbury, beating Tutti Conti, and then recently won at Newbury again, beating Mellon. Obviously Mellon has subsequently won, in inverted commas, a race at Aintree, where Laffey was disqualified. I think that form's good, so hopefully Rubber Ball is inserted as the favourite. If he is, I don't think he's the right favourite. I really don't. I think Sonagino is a better horse than Rubber Ball, and I think he's better handicapped than Rubber Ball. I think he'll go really well here and take all of the beating. Just hoping that we'd get a price about him. Let's hope Crackerjack also can make our price a bit better on Sonagino. That they think those 2 6-year-olds are a bit more progressive than Sonagino. So yeah, they are my selections for tomorrow. A very quick recap. Botanical should step forward from his run in the Lincoln, can go forward again. Clifford just needs to get his tactics or his timing spot on. Joyo Machan, Harry Skelton riding this horse for the first time since finishing second in a feature handicap here. They're back for another feature handicap here. I think he's going to take all of the beating now he's got his confidence back. That's the horse, not the jockey. Flight Plan is very well handicapped, won this race last year. Excuses recently, and has had a fitness run for this race. Rumstar will appreciate the course again. Won this quite nicely last year. I think there's others in this race that are going to need the run. Rumstar is probably aiming for this as its big target of the year. Shambali Kid back for this race again as last year. The slower trip or the slower pace over this trip means he can keep up. Danny Mullins is on board this time. I think that's a very positive jockey booking. Gustad is the one to beat in the 2000 Guineas for me. I like horses that go 6-7 a mile rather than straight up to a mile on their debut like Bo Echo did. I think he may get caught for toe. Captain Cody, I still think was going to run a nice race in the Grand National, went unseating 4 out. Mullins will be trying to win every race he can at the moment because Gordon Elliott's not that far behind him. And we've got to remember this horse went off 7-2 for a similar handicap just 3 runs ago, went falling, and then was laid out for the Grand National. Oh, and Beckett Rock is very nicely handicapped over fences compared to his hurdles form and his hurdles mark. I haven't seen anything to concern me that he's not as good over fences. Maybe this was the plan instead of the Cheltenham Festival. Alpha Crucis will be trying to win that 23,000 for the Moors. He's a nice horse. He loves Goodwood. Often runs well here. I don't see why they will be planning or plotting this horse for the Goodwood Festival with the 23,000 on offer. Bella Justum into a handicap at Newmarket. He's got some really nice form at Newmarket. He's beaten Silver Knot and he's beaten Inisherin. Copic to me could be a fly in the ointment for the Mullins team. If he kicks on and gets his act together, he is highly regarded. Could he be the next Calax de la Briere? Good effort, Liam. And finally, Sonagino in the race at Hexham. Just looking at the price of that one, just in case he's bigger than he should be.